Why do you look so glum? Are you breaking behind the smile that I know you're faking? 'Cause it is no surprise, I see it in your eyes, and they just don't lie.
Now that I kind of look back on my childhood, I really realize how dark and lonely child I was back then, and I may have seemed like a happy kid, but I definitely could have won an Academy Award for the act I was putting on. I wasn't happy at all. You know, there's a lot of people who can look back on their childhood and realize a time when they were the happiest with their parents, and you know, it's really sad that I can't think of a time like that. I came from a really broken home. My parents really, I think they got divorced before I was a year old. I'm not really sure. So I was back and forth a lot between my parents as a child. My father is a alcoholic. He still to this day struggles with it. And my mother eventually remarried to a raging drug addict, and not long after became one herself. I mostly lived with my mother throughout my childhood. I remember some good days, you know, there were some good times, but a lot of them were mostly bad. My stepfather was verbally and physically abusive to me, my mother, and my brother. And I'm not talking every now and then. It was almost every night, and it would literally go on for hours. And I think that's one of the major things that kind of messed me up as a child. And, you know, my father, he was a good parent. You know, he made me laugh. You know, it was always fun to be around him. That was just when he remembered to pick me and my brother up on the weekends when we actually got to see him. You know, he was a great guy. But as we got older, his responsibility as a parent kind of became less and less. He thought as we got older and more mature, the less of a parent he had to be. Now, don't get me wrong, I do truly love my parents a lot. They have definitely changed a lot from the people they used to be. And the reason I told you this part of my life is because I believe the lack of guidance and love and affection my parents showed me is the reason I did spiral out of control. You know, I thought, hey, my parents did all those things, why can't I do them? Around the 7th grade is really when everything started to happen. I started drinking and doing drugs all in the same year. I was very young when I started. And it's just from there, it really never stopped. It just kept getting worse and worse. But I got to high school, and all the friends I actually made in junior high, I pushed away because I had an older brother in high school. He had older friends, so they could get me drugs and alcohol, so I really saw no need to hang out with those people anymore because I just wasn't interested anymore. This is how bad my addiction became. Well, they all eventually graduated, and it got very lonely. I really had no friends at that time. But during the time in high school, my brother and his friends actually started hanging out at a church. I honestly thought it was pretty lame, but you know, they hung out there anyway. Well, throughout that time, they always tried to get me to come to Wednesday nights to youth group. I always kind of made fun of it, you know, made fun of them, but the real honest reason was I was scared. I was scared of being judged by all the people in the church because they knew who I was. I was scared of going into the church and them being like, hey, what's that guy doing here? You know, we kind of know what he's into. What's he doing here? But it really was never like that at Oakland Nazarene. I went for the first time, and I just never felt more welcome somewhere. They made it feel like a place I was really supposed to be at. Well, after coming for a while to youth group, I met a really cool group of friends, and those guys, I can definitely say, helped me start setting my life on the right path, especially two people by the name of Kristen Parrish and Ashley Fogg, who is now my beautiful fiance. But they definitely helped me kick my drug habit by literally threatening me and beating me. I'm not really joking at all. They would literally beat me. But you know, they set me on the right path, and you know, I kept coming to youth group for a couple of years. Then one year we went to a youth conference called Acquire the Fire. Very powerful message every year. And that night I accepted Christ into my heart, but I still want to live my way. I still want to do the things I was doing. I didn't really want to fully sell out for God. And I definitely think that did more harm than good to me. And, I continued to live like that. I still had a hard heart, really didn't want to fully give in. And I just still continued to be basically a Wednesday night Christian, And that went on for a while. And for a little bit, for about 2 months, I stopped coming to youth group because, I had to start working. And just one night I happened to come, I saw this thing they were advertising for a youth camp called Fun in the Sun. And the only real reason it caught my eyes because it had all these cool water sports, cliff jumping, jet skiing, and stuff like that. And I signed up to go instantly, and I just thought it was really cool that God put that there that night for me to see. So we ended up going that summer, and I really just wanted to go play in the water, to be honest with you. I really didn't go for the message or anything like that. Well, we went that summer, and I never forget the night that I accepted Christ. It was in the sanctuary, listening to Pastor Rick, and the message was very powerful. It was just really about having Christ in your life, the benefit of having Christ in your life. And I remember Pastor Rick never taking his eyes off me that whole night. It was very rare. And don't want to sound cliche or anything, but I literally felt like God was staring at me. Like it was God staring into my eyes. And no matter how much I try to look away or try not to stare him in the eyes, it was like God was like kept staring and saying, "Hey, I'm not giving up on you." And I remember him doing an altar call, say, "Was any person would like to accept Christ into their life tonight?" And I'm definitely not a crier. I don't cry a lot. I don't like to show that kind of emotion. My dad raised me as a very tough kid. If I got hurt, he told me to suck up, be a man, shake it off. But that night, I definitely cried like a baby. I walked up to the altar and just begged for God's forgiveness and just didn't think I deserved it. And I just began to cry, and it got so bad I had to be walked out. And they walked me out to the outside deck, and right there I prayed with somebody, and I fully accepted Christ in my life. I completely sold out for God, and just never really wanted to go back to the life I was living. And it's been about a little over 6 years since that night I accepted Christ in my life, and I love the path God has me on. I love my life. I truly do. I feel so blessed to have this life. And, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I definitely stumbled. I've definitely strayed away from God many times, but God always helps me back. He always helps me find the right path back every time. And it says in Hebrews 13:5, "I will never leave you or forsake you." And I really hope through my story and hearing about all the things that I've been through and God has brought me out of, that it doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, where you've come from, the things you've done. God has a plan for your life. He has a plan for everybody's life, and He wants to have a deep and personal relationship with you. And let me just say that if it was not for God, I truly don't know where I would be right now.
Why do you look so glum? Are you breaking behind the smile that I know you're faking? 'Cause it is no surprise, I see it in your eyes, and they're just